Oh, wow. I'm the first one. Feels correct. Anyway. Hello, traders and faithful alike, and welcome to The Cup, the Currently Unnamed Podcast, where we put the real and the tea in reality, and you can always come to us first to quench your thirst. I'm Logan Murphy, say something gay, and today I am drinking, not sponsored by Riot Energy, but I am drinking Riot Energy strawberry lemonade, and I have to be honest, it's growing on me. I don't mind it. Oh, hi, Lana.
Oh, hey, Logan.
Hello, Claudia Winkleman.
Hello.
You've got the
And
hair.
I am a trader, of course, but I will act like a faithful my entire life. Hey, what's going on? I am Lana, your resident evil diva, and I'm here to give the tea, spill the tea, and drink the tea because you know I love me some tea. Arr. And if you have some tea, you know what to do. Hit me up. I am currently not drinking tea, but what I am drinking is something hot to keep me warm. It is my faithful and trusty hot chocolate. And I am drinking it out of my Lana mug because my sister Courtney gave it to me. So I'm going to
Yay.
use it. And it's bigger than what I would normally drink out of, by the way, which is my cup mug. Ooh, a panel full of cup mugs. You can't really see it, but I'm partying. It's light outside. So. But anyway, you can get your cup mug at lanagcreations.etsy.com, where we do ship internationally and domestically in the US. So there are no excuses. And I'm looking at you, UK. I'm looking at all of you. Get your cup mug or your cup merch. Check out the site and get all of your cup merch. Period. Who's this trader? This is our recruit. This is our
The
recruit.
recruited trader. Oh my god.
Yeah.
I didn't ruin this bit, so we had to re-record it at all, and there's
Nope.
no way to prove it.
Nope.
Hi, my name is Jack. I'm the resident game designer of the panel, and if someone murdered my mother, I would also be recruited by them in order to weed them out. You know, just normal things.
Normal things, yes, of course. Normal things.
Absolutely.
Normal everyday things.
My god. This end game is turning out to be better and better.
And for several reasons, and frustrating for others. But we are here. We're talking about week 3 of the Traitors UK on the BBC. We've got episodes 7, 8, and 9 to talk about, and oh boy, these were some good episodes of television. Enthralled, enthused, excited, tantalized, one could say. And I'm very excited to talk about these episodes. Before we do, though, make sure to subscribe because we're here all the time giving you almost all things reality TV. We're talking about both seasons of The Traitors while they're both still on for the next week. You know, it happens. But we're here giving you all of the reality tea. And we've got 2 other channels with Almost All Things Drag and Almost All Things Eurovision Song Contest, so make sure to go check those out as well. But we left off.
Wait, if you want to monetize and help this channel grow, you can do that at our main channel at the Cup Pod. And you see that little dollar sign underneath there, that little dollar bill down in there? Click that, and you can give us some super thanks. And anything that you give to this pod will go right back into this podcast and help us become a better podcast to give you better content. So hit that button too, because we truly, truly appreciate all of the donations that you send. Thanks.
Not on this channel yet, but on the main
No, but you can make it on this channel if you subscribe and continue getting more and more people to subscribe. So
that part.
But go to our main channel. Whatever you put on the main channel helps this channel. Period.
Yeah. That's exactly correct. But yes, we start this episode and we knew what was coming. We had seen it
Yeah.
from the last scene. We were hopeful.
I wasn't.
Yes, I know, because you don't like Diane.
Yeah, I wasn't.
Still
Look here.
didn't like Diane.
Eh.
Okay.
Like I told David last week, my feelings for Diane were indifferent by this point. It got to be indifferent. I didn't like her. I didn't hate her. It was indifferent. And she left being indifferent to me because I just didn't really care that much about her. I thought I didn't really care for her in the beginning. She started to not be as annoying in the middle of this, but then it got to the point where it was like, okay, I just don't really care what she does either way. If she stays or she goes, I don't really care with her. That's what happened last, because as we see, we kind of screwed David in the Traitors thing. We voted him out, and then we recruited Jack. So that's what kind of happened.
Yeah.
David's not here because last week me and David kind of kicked Logan off, but then some major twist happened, and then Logan came back, and then we kicked David off. He had a power of some sort.
I had a revival herb.
Oh, that's what it was.
My Pokemon used revival blessing, and I was brought back.
He brought back, and then in return, he took his vengeance out on David and kicked David out. And then I was like, well, how about we recruit Jack? Because I was scared that he was going to try to take me out. And I was like, what? Wait, it's not me. Let's get Jack. And he said, okay. So
seems like exactly how things went on these 3 episodes of
Traitors. Absolutely.
Except the one major twist in all of that is that Lana, you're black. And that would never happen on this series.
Ooh,
Absolutely would never happen.
No, because first of all, I'm black and a woman.
There we go. That's the important part. There were 2 different elements.
You would have came and kicked me out immediately if this was like the episodes on this here show.
Mm-hmm.
Because we apparently don't like women traitors, and we quickly discard black people.
Apparently.
Yeah, this season has a very, very interesting statistic, which Claudia actively calls out.
Oh, we will talk about Claudia, Queen of the Clock.
But it's very let's put it as interesting.
Lana, that's what you get for trying to be all sneaky and trying to be all while sipping your hot chocolate. This is what happens.
But I meant everything I did. I don't regret anything.
Plot twist. It was a poisoned mug. And now Lana
gave it to me.
It was not me.
It was David on his way out, wasn't it?
It sure was. Yeah, we blame David.
Oh.
Oh, no. It wasn't David. I was with David in another room. You know who it was? Esme.
Oh, my God.
Yep, there it is.
Oh, no. Not another black woman taking out another black woman. I don't.
Yes, unfortunately.
Look, I don't subscribe to that at all.
You should subscribe to the channel. Yes, we were left off on the poison chalice. We all knew it was going to happen. Diane takes a sip from the chalice, and Diane is murdered. Kind of, not at that exact
right
moment.
Away.
Not at that exact moment.
The ticking time bomb in her digestive system has begun to take its effect.
Yes. And I will say, I love the way that they did this twist. I'm obsessed with this because we go to breakfast the next morning and everyone's coming in and all the traitors are there first. And I was like, okay, that's suspicious. That's weird, but okay. They did it on both franchises of Traitors this week, and I was like, what the fuck is happening? But so they're all having a conversation. They're like, oh yeah, well, Diane. And so people start coming in. And you know who shows up for breakfast? Diane. And they're all kind of like
gooped, gagged, and betrothed.
And it's literally just like, huh?
What the heck is Diane doing?
What did we screw up?
I poisoned Diane last night. What's happening?
It was so. They were just like, huh?
Oh, hey, Diane.
What? Hey, Diane, girl. What you do? How you sleep, girl? Oh. Yeah, they were scared. They was shocked. They were like, I don't understand what's happening right now in this moment, because I know Miles is definitely like, no, I saw her sip from the cup. Did we screw up? Was time up? Did we do something wrong? What happened? Then Claudia comes in and she's like, hey, everybody. So something happened last night, and one of you were poisoned. And they were like, no. 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 And she was
to make matters worse, today's man is walking a funeral procession to someone's death.
When it could be your own.
Now, I have to say, I am loving the way that Claudia is hosting this season.
Mm-hmm.
But I gotta be real honest with y'all. Alan slayed the fuck out of this, and
we'll ate this one up. We're gonna talk about it in our next
one when we talk about Traitors UK. But he ate this one up. I don't think Claudia did a bad job though. I love what I'm liking about Claudia and her hosting style is it genuinely seems like she wants everyone to succeed and like is encouraging them through the missions, where Alan's just like, okay, fail. Go for
Alan's sassy. Alan is more sassy when it's like, I'm here to make great TV to make you all just like, you're failing.
Like, get your shit together, yelling into a well.
Right. Get it. Come on. You can do it. Alan is like, I don't care if you do it. All I'm going to do is sit here, look fabulous, and you're a failure. Mm-hmm. Well, sad. I love the two contrasting styles. I love that we get to watch both of them happen at the same time with the same missions. And it's kind of like, oh, this couldn't have worked out more perfectly for me watching this and then seeing Claudia and then Alan had it. But yeah, Alan ate this particular mission, the funeral. I prefer Alan's over Claudia's, but Claudia ate too. But this was it's crazy to watch that they had them marching to a funeral, knowing it could be your own funeral, and they're just walking behind in this carriage that is behind them with these beautiful black horses. Like, those are the most beautiful black horses I've ever seen. I was like, those horses are beautiful. And I'm not a big animal person, but when I see a beauty, I was like, is this a stallion? Is it a Clydesdale? What kind of horse is this? This is the most beautiful black horse I've ever seen. I wanted to pet it. And I don't like petting animals, but I wanted to pet it. It's cute. But yeah, they go out all dressed in their black funeral wear. They're ready to pay their last respects. And Jasmine got to go in the carriage first because she had the shield. So therefore, she didn't have
queen,
as she should.
And I wasn't here last week to talk about how fabulous Jasmine is, but queen, icon, legend.
Jack, do you have any fabulous words to talk about Jasmine? Since you weren't here either.
She just eats literally everything she does.
Absolutely.
I don't think she's done a single thing wrong this entire time.
I'm not going to say everything because some of her reads are very off base. But then again,
some of them are off.
Well, reads are off, but she does it fabulous.
But I don't care.
I don't either. I mean, to be fair, there's only one person with completely spot on reads, and I'm genuinely surprised he's still in the game. We'll talk about it.
Me too. And I'm like, and y'all
genuinely
don't
shocked.
listen. Oh.
Genuinely shocked.
But
yeah, so we're walking to someone's death, and the task itself is to figure out who got poisoned, basically through process of elimination. So they walk through, they have different riddles, questions, things like that. And if you get the answer right, it means that those people were not poisoned, and then they get to join the carriage, and everybody else still has to walk in the funeral procession. And they got all of them right.
Yes.
Yeah. I will say between both this version and the US version, I think they were very much banking on them getting every single question right. Because at the end of it, there are 3 coffins and 3 potential answers. If they got a single question wrong, then there would need to be a lot more coffins, and I'm pretty sure they didn't prep for that. So this mission was very much, can you do basic communication? Okay, then decide between these 3 people who actually died.
And here's the thing. I feel like the third question was going to always be one where they can whittle it down to 3. I think they had different questions prepared just in case they got something wrong. Like we saw in the US version that they had to make sure it was down to 3. And yeah, so I think every question, I think they had like backup questions just in case.
Probably.
Just in case something didn't go the way they wanted to. Because, you have to look at all the different scenarios. But yeah.
Yes. So we end up, they get all of them right. We end up at the final 3 in the coffins being Evie, Diane, and Paul. And we were like, well, Paul's not going to die. We all know who's already going to die. But they get it right, ultimately. There are a couple people that put their black roses on Evie, a couple, I think 1 or 2 people on Paul, but the bulk are like, Diane's outspoken. Diane is a very good faithful, which is why she was probably murdered. And that's exactly why she was murdered. It's exactly why she was murdered. So
I will say though, I think the producers absolutely set up Paul here. Because once again, in a situation where for almost every single traitor, if Paul was faithful, he probably should have been killed over Meg. If Paul was a faithful, he might have been killed over Diane. I think it put a little bit more of a spotlight on Paul as, why aren't you dead yet?
And
you should be.
And I don't remember when this happened, but when Molly at breakfast is talking to Paul and is like, well, it doesn't really make sense, like, putting all the pieces together. I'm like, Molly, put the pieces together, girl!
It was right after Miles. Everybody was kind of like, because they put Paul on this, well, spoiler, sorry. It was right after that banishment that happened that they started wondering, why are you not? Like, how do you go through this whole thing and being the most popular and being the most liked, and when the traitors know nobody's going to ever think you are anything but a faithful, why wouldn't they just off you in times that they can? Like, they put you in the dungeon. That could have been a perfect opportunity to kill you. They put you in a thing. They had a secret poisoning. That could have been the time to do it. why aren't you dead yet? That just doesn't make any sense when your name has so much heat. Why aren't you dead? Who's
To be
protecting
fair,
you?
though, it could potentially, like, if it had been any other set of questions, Paul could have been one of the first people saved.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Exactly.
like, I agree with you, Jack. I feel like there was like a bit of an ooh, mm, mm.
And
But yeah,
I mean, comparing this to US,
mhm.
it was the same kind of setup where in the final set of people,
Yeah.
one was a traitor.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that was the intent of the questions, to make it an innocent faithful, the person who's dead, a traitor.
Yeah.
And good on them. It's an interesting logic puzzle to figure out how you can get down to that state. It absolutely fucked over Paul. I'm not going to say I'm pissed at it, but it absolutely fucked over Paul.
And while marching to her death, Diane turns to Paul and Evie, but Evie's like, I don't remember hearing it, but whatever.
I mean,
Evie.
she really told
Paul.
Paul. She really didn't tell Evie. And Evie was kind of walking ahead of them.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of like she said, they were whispering. So she heard names, but she didn't hear the content of the names. Like,
Yeah.
what did you mean? She could have said, it's not Miles, it's Evie, or whatever.
Yeah. But so Diane, walking to her death, turns to Paul and goes, well, if I die, it's Miles. And that is all the ammunition that Paul needs to take out another traitor, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See,
here's the thing. Mm-hmm. And I know at the beginning of this episode, we were very like, interesting how this happens. But speaking game with the game brain on, it was a smart move to make. It was, anybody would have done it with the opportunity that was given to him. Like, it was literally handed to him on a silver platter. Like, here's the move you need to make. It'll give them what they want, another traitor. It'll give them the ammunition that they need to now look at me as someone who is a faithful and still get out somebody and be able to split the money with fewer people. So it made sense. Did I like how it happened? Absolutely not, because it just felt gross. It felt gross. I hated the way it happened. But I will say I love the journey of, I enjoyed this round table very much when we get to it, because a lot of good things happened in this round table and a lot of just, but when Diane told him that, I was like, oop, well, okay.
Yeah. I mean, the lead up to the round table at this point is literally just Paul claiming, I'm voting for Miles. This is what Diane said to me. That's why I'm voting for Miles. And Miles counteracting that within the group with, well, why is he coming after me all of a sudden? He's a traitor.
Over somebody who can't vouch. Like, Diane's gone. She can't vouch and say she said that. All we can do is take Paul's word, who has been very suspicious lately and who's been dodging and dipping out of stuff that, he probably should have been dead from.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So I mean, we're basically at the round table, and it becomes this just tennis match basically between Miles and Paul.
It was so good. Miles was not going quietly into the night.
No.
Which I appreciated so much. I was like, because Miles was just like, look here, if you gonna come for me, I'm gonna make sure that I out you without outing you. And I'm gonna make sure it's known, because I can't do that, because I took the traitor oath, so I can't just say you the traitor. But what I can do is cast even more suspicion on you. And he had proof and receipts of things that had happened that he could bring up, and he did in such an eloquent way, in such a way that it made people go, huh. I mean, I'm still looking at you, but I'm now looking harder at you. And I love that. That round table was everything. And I was like, dang, I know Miles is about to go here, but I love the way he went. And I was like, don't let them take you out like that and just, you know, override you and steamroll you and make you whittle into a corner. Like, he fought. He came out swinging. It was like, bah, bah. And for a minute, it looked like Harry was like, oh, wait. Hold on. Do I go with Miles? Do I go? He was like, we're trying to read the room. Like, where's everybody going in this moment? Because it was, Miles was giving, this was like a courtroom, and the defense and the prosecutors was like, boom, 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 boom. And it was so, this is one of the best roundtables I've seen in a long time, where neither parties was just go quietly into the night. And it wasn't just a screaming match. It was a, here's my point. Here's my point. Here's my point. Let me counteract your point. Well, let me counteract your point. Well, I will counteract your, it was just, as someone who wanted to be a lawyer in my youth, this was amazing. I love watching court with lawyers and who know what they're doing. And these two men knew what they were doing. And I enjoyed every second of that. Oh.
And to that point, I honestly think all three of the roundtables we got in this set of episodes were pretty fantastic. And that's kind of what's made the series for me, honestly, is like the characters are fine. The traitors themselves are doing fine, but it's really been the roundtables for me that have stood out, because we've gotten this one. We had the one where Ash was banished. We had like some of the early ones where it was just pure chaos. And I love the ones where it is this kind of back and forth sort of thing, like this one with Miles and Paul. But I also love a roundtable where you go into the voting as a viewer being like, I genuinely don't know what's about to happen. And in all three of these episodes, I was like, I genuinely don't know what is about to happen. And I love that. Like, I'm a really big fan of that.
Me too. These were just really good roundtables where people were not going to go quietly into the night. And everybody was like, I will recounter your points. And all of your points make sense, valid. But here's my points. Bam, 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 bam. And it was so good to watch. I enjoyed it very much. And I love that it was just like, all right, who swayed the jury the most? You know, and it was, and I love seeing the different reactions, like Harry's reaction, knowing what he knows, and seeing who he wanted to stay, but seeing who he wanted to stay almost get decimated by the person he didn't want to stay. And because honestly, I felt like Miles won the argument, but people already had their minds made up on what they were going to do. And it was kind of too late for him to sway. But if I was going by bullet points and if me being sitting there, Miles won that argument. Like, he really was like point after point. It was Paul's conviction in his argument that I felt like, and I felt like more people was more comfortable with Paul. Let's be honest. I think I said this to y'all off camera, but for me, watching reality shows when the majority of people are white people, and it's the person of color defending themselves against another white person, white people tend to default to white. Now, that is not a horrible thing. It's just they default to what's comfortable for them. And what's comfortable for them is people who remind them of them, who look like them, which is the same thing with people of color. Usually, if we're in a majority situation, which is hardly ever, but if we're in a majority situation and it's us against somebody else who is not that person of color, we usually try to default to what's comfortable. And that's just human nature. And so I wasn't like horribly offended by it, but I was just like, life is doing what it does. It does what we do. Human nature is what we do. So I knew that they were going to default to Paul because they trusted Paul so much throughout this game. It was just a matter of trust and comfortability. And Miles they liked Miles, sure. Everybody loved Miles. Everybody thought Miles was great. But when it comes down to Paul against Miles, they were always going to default to Paul. It's just what it is. And then when you're sitting there as another person of color, like a Jasmine, like a Jazz, sitting there, you have to protect your own game as well. They can't stick their neck out for somebody who's already on what they call a sinking ship. So it's kind of like, yeah, I can see the points. I understand what you're saying. Yeah, you could be right, but Paul just gave so much more conviction. Miles was like, here's my point, here's my point, here's my point. And Paul was like, but here's my point, and here is my point. And it was just more theatric for me.
It's introducing, and this is the little bit of English composition that I learned in my senior year of high school. It's introducing pathos. It is introducing the emotion into it that literally will carry someone through.
Absolutely.
And I mean, Paul was able to deliver facts with emotion. Miles was able to deliver more facts, potentially with less emotion, and it didn't hook as hard. And I think there's also something to say about white people and emotion versus people of color and emotion.
Absolutely.
And how effective it can be. But yeah, that's ultimately where it ends.
Yeah.
And like you said, Lana, I do agree. I think Miles was the one that ultimately won this exchange, but I think Paul won the war.
Absolutely.
And so Miles is banished.
I'm sad.
To nobody's surprise, really, in that scenario. I'm very upset about it. Obviously, he was a traitor, so they got out another traitor, and everyone's so excited. Everyone's like, oh my god, Paul, the savior!
Right.
Oh my god, Paul!
The savior, you did it. Our great white hope. Yay.
We did it, Paul!
We did it!
We did it. We did it.
Yes.
Oh.
So, we go up to the turret, and there are some phrases that they use in this version of the Traitors that I really like. Turret is one of them. Seduce is not one of them. I will not be saying it. I will not be saying they are seducing anyone.
It was like, what do you mean seduce? But okay.
Seduce or murder. I only like it in that context.
Are we going to seduce or murder?
Well, they decide that they are going to recruit.
Seduce.
No, they are recruiting.
Seduce.
Recruiting. And they go through the list of possible options, most of which are white men.
Except Jasmine.
Except Jasmine. And that would have been the goop.
Love that.
I will say, in terms of people of color left, there's Jasmine and Jazz. That's it.
Jasmine.
So there isn't much in terms of that. There are at this point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 women, and somehow every single other woman gets ignored. Every single one.
British reality TV never fail to disappoint me.
Just a little bit, but you know.
I was disappointed with Big Brother UK. I was very disappointed with Survivor UK. And guess what? I'm disappointed with the Traitors UK. Shocker. But we're left on a cliffhanger from episode 7, and we go into episode 8. We find out that the 2 white men have recruited a white man in Andrew.
We should all aspire to have the confidence of a straight white man.
Thank you, Lana.
I will be using that a lot in this part.
Just gonna be
this
used.
episode. Just want to say.
Good. See, I'm not mad at this because I think Andrew is nice to look at. So
Yeah. And I mean, Andrew from the beginning of the series has been looked at as a pseudo leader to Paul. Like basically the one under it. So it makes sense that they would immediately recruit the other leader of the group because it's like, oh no, the previous leader was taken out. There's no way the other leader is also a traitor. And you were right up until the moment that Paul was gone. Then you were wrong.
We didn't get to that part yet, but okay.
Well, yeah. Oh, fuck. God, I am mixing up episodes.
You skipped an entire episode, Jack.
I did skip an entire episode.
Well, so Andrew is recruited, and he comes up to the turret, finds out that the other 2 traitors are Paul and Harry, and goes, "Ah, crap, you're going to throw me under the bus, aren't you?" I was like, you better read them, Andrew!
I said, read them for filth, Andrew. Read them for filth, because you just witnessed them both doing that twice to people. And it's like, oh, y'all.
Like, ah, shit.
I'm the scapegoat, aren't I?
And they're like, no, not at all.
No,
oh my God, no.
We trust you. No, we would never.
Oh my God, we would never. Oh my God.
It had to be done with Miles and Ash, but it will never be done with you because we trust you, Andrew. Of course. And Andrew is not buying it at all. Andrew's like, I'm a little nervous and a little kind of pissed about this because I know I rolled hard for you, Paul, and was very 100% sure that you were faithful, and you have been lying. And Harry, I never suspected you, and now I watched how you both have. And she was like, y'all finna throw me under the bus. And I don't think Andrew has ever let that go. In all of these episodes, Andrew has kept that piece of information tightly locked in the back of his mind. Like, you know what? I'm going to keep my eye on you. I'm going to keep my eye on y'all because I'm going to see what I can see, because I would hope y'all wouldn't do that to me, but hope springs eternal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to decide if I trust it or not. So sometimes hope ain't enough. So I'm just going to keep my eye on you. And I love that for Andrew. They did not think Andrew was going to react the way Andrew reacted. They thought Andrew was going to come up and they're like, bro, bloody hell.
Bro party.
Right,
yes.
bro, great.
And instead they're both just like, shit.
Oh, shoot. We kind of,
we,
as they say, we cracked on this.
Yeah.
Ooh, and I loved it. I loved every second of that.
The mission for this one, because no one gets murdered, so we basically go essentially straight to the mission. This mission was stupid.
Yeah.
I didn't care for this one. So they're shooting arrows at I was like, those stained glass windows are so pretty.
They were so pretty.
Don't ruin the stained glass window. But we're shooting arrows at stained glass windows until there's one left, and that person wins a shield. But every time you miss an arrow, you lose 100 pounds from the 7,000 pounds that they could have earned in this mission. And most of these people are shit.
Absolutely.
Most of them are really bad at this mission.
Although Zach said, I'm really good with crossbow.
But this isn't a crossbow.
Oh, it's a whatever he said. But then he did. It was like, pew, pew, crap. He was like, oh, but it's not a crossbow. I was like, God, I'm not that good of a crossbow. I was lying.
But yes, so they go. It ends up coming down to Molly and Charlie, who we barely seen. I was like, oh yeah, Charlie, you're still here.
Yeah.
Not for long, but you're still here. And then Molly and Charlie are both like, oh, babes, I'm sorry. I have to. I'm so sorry. I know you want the shield. I'm so sorry. That's more Charlotte than anything else. But
at first, I will say, at first I was like, but Molly got a shield too. But I was like, oh no, she didn't get that shield. It went to Ross that time because it was only one shield.
Yeah, so Molly hadn't had one up until that
I was
point.
Like, okay, well then,
which is why they ended up being the last two, because I think at that
Mm-hmm.
point pretty much everyone else had gotten a shield,
except Charlotte too. But
yeah, well,
yeah,
doesn't matter anymore. And she could have had one. We'll talk about it. She could have had one, but it comes down to Molly and Charlie. Molly ends up getting the shield. She feels real bad about that later, but we'll talk about it. And in the car on the way back, Paul is like, so why was Harry reacting like that?
Harry felt so targeted. Why was he doing that? And everybody was like, I think it was just in jest. I think he was just being funny. And they were like, yeah. And I was like,
now why the fuck is he coming after Harry?
Doing? I was like, oh, this is the second time you threw Harry under the bus. What are you doing in your conversations that you doing? But I'm like, I see what you're doing. And you're doing the same thing Harry's doing, but doing it way worse than how Harry's doing it. Like, you're doing it to people who actually talks to Harry on a regular basis. And so they constantly will tell Harry things. And you're like, I mean, did you all find the fact that he brought it up is way worse. Like, if somebody else would have brought it up and he reacted to it, then he could have easily covered his tracks and like, oh, I didn't bring it up. Somebody else brought it up. And I was just like, yeah, that's interesting.
I agree because I was in the group, but like.
Right. And then Harry probably would have took that better. But you brought it up. And I was like, oh, well, Julie.
So Harry gets wind of that. And is like, well, I guess I'm coming after Paul now. Okay. And Andrew's like, yes, let's get out Paul. He's like, yes, we'll do it. I'm ready. I'm so excited. And I'm just like, he's like, I knew I was going to have to go after one of them eventually. And I'm like, baby, you've been a traitor for 2.5 whole ass minutes.
But I don't mind it.
I
want to see Andrew excited to go after them because after a while, he know what they capable of. He's seen what they do. And so he's like, I knew I'm going to have to go after one of them. The second he walked into the turret and saw who was there, he was like, I'm going to have to get one of these. I'm going to have to. Like, I know he, like he said, he only been a traitor for 2.5 minutes. But that first minute, he was like, one of them got to go.
Within the first 10 seconds, he goes, shit. Well, this is what's happening.
One of them got to go, period. And I don't know who it is going to be and how I'm going to make it work, but I'm going to make it work, and one of them got to go. And I was like, yes, Andrew, good on. I love the excitement anyway.
Yeah. Oh, no, I was a fan of it, too. I was just like, ooh, we're fastest reaction time in Traitor history. Like,
period.
So they go to the round table. And we start out with Charlie accusing Charlotte. And I'm like,
oh.
But y'all are best friends?
Bestie's in the house, right? Ooh.
Like, why are you turning on your bestie?
Yeah. I still can't explain that.
But then Charlotte, because of everything that had happened today, is like, well, I don't want to do this because I like him, but Paul, you're a little suspicious.
Ooh.
And I'm like, yes, Charlotte, better Charlotte. Get him, Charlotte.
I was like, he is suspicious. He is.
He is suspicious. This whole situation is weird.
It's weird, it's suspicious.
And so Charlotte comes after him. A couple other people are like, yeah, but Paul, what about this thing? And Harry goes, but what about this?
And this, and
Lazy.
this, and this, and this. Oh my, the way Harry just pulled out every single receipt possible and made it look like this is just not coincidence, Paul, that you went through the den, the dungeon, you didn't pass the poison, you didn't knew who the traitors were, you were right on it, you were pushing traitors, and then all of a sudden when it's not a traitor, you don't really push them, and that it was like, how did you know all this information, Paul? And I was like, woo! And everybody was sitting there like, yeah, Paul. Then Ross comes in and is like, hey. I think we're doing too much. I think we're looking at the wrong thing here. Because Paul is 100% faithful. We know this. He helped get traitors. But what we should be looking at is Jazz. Because Jazz is someone who has been weird and acting weird and making strange moves. And I just believe it's Jazz at this point. And so then people who were thinking about Jazz, like Zach, is like, yeah, Jazz. I mean, I came in here 100% thinking it was going to be, I was going to vote for Paul. But now I'm looking at you because you doing some weird things. And Jazz is like trying to explain it. So like, I made some mistakes. Yes, last round I voted for Andrew and nobody voted for Andrew. I was sticking with my gut. Now, if he would have voted for Andrew,
I'm like, right. Now his gut is right.
But in the moment, he was like, I was going with my gut and I was thinking who I felt it was. And sure, I made a mistake, but we've all made mistakes in this game, And so Jasmine is like, I mean, Jazz, I'm looking at you because you just seem a little, I don't know. It just seemed a little strange to me how you moving and maneuvering in this game. And so Zach comes back around. He said something very interesting when they were talking about Paul. He was like, I felt like your confrontation with Miles was a traitor versus a traitor trying to throw each other under the bus. And we know Miles was a traitor, and I felt like it was a traitor versus traitor thing happening. And that wasn't the first time Zach said that, because he said it at the round table with next to Harry, and then he said it at the breakfast the next morning. And he was like, I felt like it was traitor versus traitor. Spot on, Reed. It's just coming from somebody who nobody really trusts and believe they were, because Zach is not somebody who people value as being right on information. But he was like, I just felt like it was a traitor versus traitor situation going on, because both of them had too many facts or too many, things that were concrete and made me go, oh, that could be true. Oh, that happened. That's true. And it was like, and I was like, yes, Zach, that is the truth. Stick with that. Like, that is facts. But for a moment, in that exchange between Ross and Jazz and all the other people, I was like, is this vote about to switch off of Paul and go to Jazz?
I was like, I swear to God, if they put in all this work and Harry had this great manifesto just for them to vote out Jazz instead of Paul, I'm like, you gotta be joking.
I was screaming because I was screaming, and I was like, if this, and I'm gonna say it, y'all know I'm set. Yeah, and I hate, but I'm gonna say it. I was like, if this white man walk away scot-free again, he is the Teflon man. Like literally, nothing is going to hurt him. Nothing is going to affect him. Even when people are viscerally coming after him, he just skates by and is water off a duck's back. And I'm like, why? How is this possible with this man? I was scared. I was literally scared and fuming. I was watching that and I was fuming. I was like, if he gets off scot-free and he gets a few votes and he is still not voted out, the man's winning the game. And I'm going to be very upset about it.
But that didn't happen.
I'm partying. Y'all can't see it because it's light outside, but I'm partying. Oh, I wanted this man gone so bad. Oh, could not.
And I love too that this is happening also with having Ross just being like, well, if he's a traitor, then he's one of the best actors I have ever seen. And then Ross is just sitting there looking like it's just, oh.
Yeah.
Sucks to suck.
Go ahead. Jack, you were going to say?
Yeah, the absolute celebration that breaks out the minute that Paul announces he's a traitor. People go wild. Chairs are literally
thrown.
Chairs are thrown.
Like, it is every single person in that room won the lottery. It is incredible. And it ends the reign of terror that Paul has been holding on this game.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, all he had to do was not throw Harry under the bus this episode.
Mm-hmm.
If he didn't do that, he probably would have been in the game still. But he decided to once again randomly throw another traitor under the bus. And unfortunately, he caught the one person that he couldn't do that to.
Yeah.
And my favorite line in this whole show was at the end. And Harry was like, they are talking about how Paul is the greatest traitor of all time. He's the greatest traitor in history. I'm still sitting here and I got rid of Paul. So wouldn't that make me the greatest traitor of history? I was like, you're not wrong, sir. You're not wrong. If Harry gets to the end of this game and wins, he's right there under Cerie Fields to me.
Deserved, absolutely.
Yeah.
Out of all the traitors that I've watched, he would definitely beat out Magic Mike because
I was going to say he might be shortly eclipsed by someone on Traitors US, but
yes, if that happens. But as of right now, if he wins this game, I mean, because he made some mistakes along the way. I don't think Cerie made any mistakes. That's why I'm saying Cerie Fields is still a flawless Traitors winner this entire game. Harry, the moment he agreed to send Ash and Paul down to the dungeon, I was like, nah, you know that. You knew in your heart of hearts that wasn't a good move to make, but you agreed to it. So there was his flaw. But it still is such a minute flaw, and it didn't have any blowback on him, so it's still good. He would be right there under Cerie Fields to me as one of the best traitors in the franchise. So that I've seen. So. But he got to get to the end. He still ain't there yet. He got to get to the end. and
what I do love about this is normally at this point with how much reality TV I've consumed, I can kind of tell where the edit is heading.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell where the edit is heading.
No.
And I love it. And I give major props to the BBC for that because I'm like, I don't know, is Harry going to get, and we'll talk about it when we talk about the end of episode 9, but is Harry going to get betrayed or is he actually going to somehow scrape his way to the end? I can't tell.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that I can't tell.
I love that.
So.
Yeah.
I do think with the traitors specifically, you can't really ever tell if someone is going to make it to the end, even if they're a traitor, because one bad round could knock someone out. Like, it
Absolutely.
is genuinely impossible unless they set them up. Unless they set themselves up near perfectly. And Harry's kind of done that. Like, of all people, I think it'd take Harry 2 or 3 bad rounds or just one major mishap or someone on the inside actively working against him.
Huh? You know,
What's happening?
I think Harry did a mishap in this next episode.
Oh, I sure think he did as well.
And we'll talk about it. And I think somebody who is not a traitor might be onto them.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about it.
So we got Andrew and Harry now going up to the turret, trying to decide who they want, whether they want to recruit again, because they have that option now again, or do they want to murder? And they're both kind of like, murder. And they go through several options, I think all of which are women. Okay.
Well, no. I think Zach was an option. But then they said no. He was quickly off the options list.
I think it came down to, was it Jazz and Charlie?
Charlie. Yeah.
Yeah.
So not all were women.
No.
But most were women.
But the person actually murdered was a woman, because we do lose Charlie.
Yeah.
Who I really liked, and I was kind of upset about it.
I'm going to speak for David in this moment. David no longer has to decide who is Charlie or who is Evie. So I know he's very happy about that, because David could not tell who the two blonde white women were. And I agree. I understood. I mixed them up constantly. So now, therefore, we don't have to decipher who's Charlie and who's Evie anymore. So I'm very happy about that. Shout out to you, David, because I know you're watching or listening. So
at 2.6 feet.
At 2.6 feet. But yeah.
No, because my roommate was like, "Wait, which one was that?" And I was like, "That's Charlie."
Yeah, we didn't know.
I knew exactly who Charlie was, separate from Evie.
Good for you.
And I thought I loved what we got to know about Charlie. I loved that we got to know more about her and her journey and her experiences. Mm-hmm. She didn't play a big role in the game itself, but I think she was a lovely character on this season, and I was sad to see her brutally murdered. So
absolutely, I like Charlie. She's fun.
I think this was the smartest thing they could have done at that moment.
Absolutely.
Because Harry explains, "Oh yeah, no, we killed Charlie so that way we could pin it on her best friend Charlotte."
Mm-hmm.
Smart.
Absolutely
smart. Like it makes complete sense, and that's kind of what happened. But I was gonna bring something up, but it's after the mission. So we go to the mission.
This was a breakfast.
Oh, breakfast.
Breakfast happens, and when Charlie doesn't show up, everybody's kind of like, "Oh, because Charlie that's weird. That's peculiar. That's strange. Sus." And Charlie's kind of like, I mean, not Charlie. Charlotte's kind of like, "Oh no, my best friend. I can't believe it." It was such a, like, she was being very genuine, but it came off very like she was trying way too hard to pronounce her innocence and how she's a faithful, and like she says that on a regular basis. I'm a faithful. And everybody's like, who are you trying to convince, ma'am?
The default should be faithful. You shouldn't have to repeatedly announce it.
Exactly. But yeah, she was kind of like, yeah. But then Claudia comes in and she's like, so Charlotte's gone. We're gonna miss her, but we have to move on. And I want you all. Would you all like to come to my holiday lounge or cabin?
My holiday cabin retreat.
And they're like, sure, great. She's like, good. I'll see you there. And so they go to this mission.
Claudia, you need to invest in some better real estate, darling.
I mean, look here. That cabin in the woods was very private. There was no one around. She could go out and just live amongst the woods in her own little cabin. And it's perfectly fine. And when you walked inside, it looked like a normal little cabin. It looked like a little quaint little, no frills, no fuss, just me and my retreat. That's a good place for somebody who's just trying to get away. They don't need much. I want to be off the grid, so no Wi-Fi, none of that. Just leave me in my thoughts. People who do writers' retreats or what other kind of just holistic, zen-like spaces. It was a beautiful little cabin, so we thought. But then the underground happened, and it was dark and dirty. And then I was like, yeah, Claudia, your interior designer needs some work. They need some work. You need to get somebody who actually know how to do this, because not only did they have to go into this cabin and find these gold bar or gold coins, and go find these gold coins in there, and it was a shield in there also, so you can go in there. You had to go down into these tunnels and caves and things and find these gold coins. 5 people can be in the tunnel at a time, and then once the 5 people find all the gold and get out of the tunnel, the 5 people that are up in the cabin has to go down in the tunnel and find their way out, and they have 30 minutes to do so.
Plus some gross fruit and insects and water and mud, toads and caterpillars and skeletons and rotten fruit and vegetables.
Yeah, it took long enough for them to pull the classic I'm a celebrity gross challenge out. Yeah. I was expecting it like episode 6, episode 7. To save it to episode 9 is very weird. But
they needed a smaller group for this task, so I guess I understand that. But this went pretty scot-free. I mean, once they figured out that they had to push the switches to turn on the lights hold it to do the lights in the tunnel, but then if you did it, then there weren't lights in the cabin. Like, once they figured out the mechanics of the challenge, it worked pretty well. Unfortunately for Harry, he was kind of just stuck at that first one. They all left it.
So like, here, you deal with these bolts, and we're gonna go figure out and find the rest of it.
We're gonna go do the other things. Yeah.
Which makes sense, because what was the point of them sitting there watching him unhook bolts? Like, we could be going and getting more things.
But what was the point of them also waiting on on Charlotte to get from the toads?
Right.
It's like,
I think that was the last one. Right. They could have been going to the well by then. Like, half of them could have been at the well. But it was so crazy. Like, Ross was a mess in this challenge. I will just say that. Ross was an absolute mess. I was like, sir, if you don't stop screaming like a little girl and start holding that dang like water with him, you're like, oh no, yeah. It's just like, hold the dang button. He was like, I can't do it. Somebody else hold the button. I was like, put some water. Then other stuff started happening. I was like, okay, I get it. Now you got gross, like you said, rotten fruit and bugs and all this other stuff coming down on them. I would have been like, no, get out. This challenge would have grossed me the heck out, and I would have been like mad to
Oh,
death.
I would have been Evie staying in the damn cabin, sacrificing $1,000.
Absolutely.
100%.
I'm like, I'll hold the
Yeah.
goddamn buttons then. But we
like
had Andrew.
gross smells and water. Like I can deal with that.
But I can't deal with going. I'm very claustrophobic. I'm like Andrew. I would have been like, no. Andrew got down in that tunnel and was like, no, let me get out of here.
No.
Like, no. I was like, I feel you, Andrew.
No.
No. But eventually they get out of the tunnel. They get out. But before we get out of the tunnel, we see Charlotte go to where the shield is. She sees the shield symbol. It's in the skeleton. She goes in there. And she said earlier she really wanted the shield. She was somebody who hadn't had the shield. She really wanted the shield. And she goes into where the skeleton is and she starts pulling stuff and digging. And she's been doing really well thus far in this challenge. She's going in, she's getting stuff out, not letting the grossness
She's kind of
scare
been
her.
the only person doing anything substantial other than Harry.
Absolutely. She's going in, she's grabbing things, she's not letting the gross smells get to her. And so she gets into the skeleton and she's pulling, and they're like, we got a few minutes left. We only got a few minutes left. She's like, okay, I'm looking. I don't see it. I can't find it. Let's just move on. And she has thrown so much of the skeleton apart that we see the shield sitting there. She doesn't see it. It's dark. They're not turned on the lights, so she don't see it. And she's gone. So she's like, you know what? Never mind. I'm just going to go. Harry comes behind them on his way out, and they're waiting for Charlotte to get the bar out of the toads. And he looks, and he's like, anybody get the shield? Nobody says anything. And he looks and sees the shield just sitting there in the skeleton. And I was like, oh, this man, go get it again. And he reaches and he grabs the shield and he wants to put it in his pocket. And Molly sees him with the shield. And she's like, good job, babes. And that's just it. She just leaves and he puts it in the shield. He puts it in his pocket and they get out of there.
He's like,
so he's like, shush, shush, shush. And she's like, okay. So they get out. Everybody else comes through except Evie. Evie sacrifices herself and $1,000 so they can have lights to go through the tunnel because the 5 men up top was apparently too scary to go through in the dark. So they needed the lights.
My favorite part of this whole mission is Claudia just yelling into the tunnel like, hurry up! You only have a few minutes! You've got 1 minute! You have to do it! I love Claudia so much. She has provided a boatload of entertainment on this series for me.
Absolutely.
And more later, and we'll talk about it.
Ooh, absolutely.
But yeah, so they end up getting out of, I think 10,000 was available, they get 5,000.
Mm-hmm. Not bad.
Sure.
Not bad.
Sure. Totally. Whatever.
Work. Then Claudia asked, you don't have to say it, but does anybody want to fess up to getting the shield? The shield was got. Anybody want to say it? And Harry says, nobody says it. No one say it. And they're like, okay, well, you don't have to say it. We move. Claudia moves.
And we go. And yeah.
Here's where I said Harry messed up. This is where I said the flaw in Harry's plan is going to backfire on him, because him not telling, and the reason he says he didn't tell he got the shield is to cover up some things later. But I'm like, but you know somebody saw you, right?
Well, so here's the thing. I'm gonna say this, and I've really liked Molly throughout this whole series, and I think she's lovely and fine and wonderful. If Harry can make it to the end, that final two is gonna be Harry and Molly, where Molly. That's what I see happening at this point.
Okay.
But yeah, no. If Harry ends up making it to the end, if it's Harry and Molly in the end, like that's gonna be the final two, and Molly's gonna be the one betrayed, as per typically happens on like Traitors when it happens, because they've been so close the whole time. Molly even says in confessional, she's like, I am close to him. I saw Harry get the shield. I'm not gonna say anything. And Harry realizes that the one person he can kind of sort of trust that's probably not going to catch on that he's a traitor is Molly.
I kind of agree, but I kind of think she could probably catch on and realize he might be, because especially, well, we'll talk about it later, but I feel like it's going to be something that happens at this end of this episode that will make Molly start to wonder about him. I don't know if she's going to actively go against him, but I think she's going to start to wonder. And it only will make sense for her to wonder when it's so little people and she just, she stays. Who's protecting her? Why is she not ever an option to go? Who is she the closest to? And I think because of what happens in this episode, people are going to start thinking along that line. Why am I still here? Who's protecting me? Because now that we saw what happened to Paul, the person who people all felt like he was protecting, so they may or may not still be here. So it's kind of like, I think people are going to start thinking about who am I the closest to? Why am I still here? Who's protecting me and who's going? Because like we all said at the beginning on the off camera, who we think is going next, because they therefore have no more protection.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
I will also say, as the game gets to the final state, you want people who aren't necessarily 100% like confirmed faithfuls, like they haven't done anything wrong. Like Molly, I'm trying to think of when anyone has had suspicion of Molly.
I think Molly is now the only person left who has not been, who has not had her name brought up.
Mm-hmm.
Which makes me immediately think that the remaining traitors after this episode might look at Molly as, we have to murder now, and Harry could be outvoted, and then there goes Harry's main line of defense. Well, one of his primary lines of defense. So it could get into a very interesting scenario. But before we figure out what could happen there, we have
what happens now.
Yeah. So we go to this round table, and it's kind of just building off of, the Charlie murder. A lot of people are looking at Charlotte, and we got this exchange between Charlotte and Jasmine. And I was like, not my two faves.
Yeah, because they had a bit of a little thing earlier in the day when they had a conversation. Jasmine actually hearing Charlotte talking about her and how she's suspicious of her, because her and Molly was standing outside the door listening to Charlotte talking about them or talk about her. And she walks in and they have this kind of awkward exchange. And then Jazz is like, you want to tell me why you feel this way? She's like, I'll save it for the round table. I don't want to defend myself now and have you able to go and twist my word and come up with a counter defense and da. So we'll save it for the round table. And so Charlotte comes to the round table ready to go to this battle with Jasmine. And here is my rant, everyone, because I have a rant and I have a problem. And my problem is with dear Zachary. I have a problem with you. And I have a problem with you because of the way you felt like you had the right, the audacity, or the privilege of knowing everything Jasmine felt or thought in this game. Like, you have no right to her thoughts. You went from being one of her closest friends in this game to now be like, well, you didn't tell me you had feelings about Paul, so therefore I don't believe you're telling the truth. You're a liar. And I'm like, say what now? You feel like she got to tell you everything? Did she tell you what she was wearing this morning? What she was going to eat for breakfast? Did she tell you when she went to the bathroom? Did she tell you when she was going to go step outside? Did she got to tell you when who she was talking to and every thought that come across her mind? She got to tell you everything. If she don't tell you that or express that to you, then automatically she's a liar. Like, sir, who are you? It gives you the right to feel like you own this woman's thoughts and her minds, and she has to clear things with you. She was like, just because I had thoughts about Jazz, which she did, she had some thoughts about Jazz, and she brought them up because there was no need for her to bring up her issues that she thought about Paul because everybody had did it already. So it would have been redundant for her to come behind him and like, oh yeah, this is my thoughts I had about Paul. These are the same thoughts everybody had about Paul. So she didn't have to bring that up. What she did feel like the need to do is bring up the thought she had against Jazz because people were now on the Jazz train and we're trying to figure out, is it between Jazz or Paul? She said that she had both thoughts, but the only reason she went to Paul is because she had more thoughts about Paul longer than she had about Jazz, which makes perfect sense. You go with your gut. And if your gut is telling you different things, which one did I feel the strongest, the longest? And if this is the one I feel, then I can come to this one next. And I'm like, Zach, sir, excuse you for thinking you have the right to know every single thought that goes into this woman's head. Or if she doesn't tell you, she's lying. How about she might not want to tell you everything? You ever think about that? She just didn't want to tell you. Because you're crazy and a wild card and people already was looking at you weird anyway. Maybe she was trying to preserve her own game. How about that? No, you decide to call this woman a liar because she didn't clear things with you. You ain't nobody. You ain't nobody. You ain't her daddy. She ain't got to tell you nothing. But she honors you enough and respected your friendship enough to strategize and play this game with you a little bit. But you decided to turn around and be like, you're a liar because you never expressed that to me. Boy, bye. Go somewhere. I hope you go as quickly as possible. I cannot stand you. You, sir, deserve to lose everything in this game. I ain't gonna say in life, but in this game, sir, you deserve to lose everything. You don't own the right to that woman's thoughts. Period. And I am done. Thank you. Thank you for my time.
And thank you for coming to her TED Talk.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Agreed. That's all I have to say on the matter is just agreed. That's all.
You're a liar. Boy.
I was so mad though, because I was like, not Charlotte and Jasmine. Not my faves. Because those have been the two people that I'm like, oh, I like you both a lot. And you're both doing like pretty decent in the game, but have like really bad reads. No. And then fuck Zach. No, not Jasmine and Charlotte now. And I was like, fuck, one of them is going home now. The better option in my moral dilemma here ended up happening.
Yeah.
But as Charlotte is banished as a byproduct of being close to Paul, as a byproduct of Paul taking out Miles, as a byproduct of them taking out Ash.
Yeah.
It's really just collateral damage.
Mm-hmm. And she said it too. And I was like, yeah, you are.
Yeah. Which is incredibly unfortunate. But obviously, Charlotte is a faithful. They have broken their streak of getting out traitors. And now we have what, 7 people left?
8.
8.
It is Andrew, Evie, Harry, Jasmine, Jazz, Molly, Ross, and Zach. That's it.
Yep.
It is a very small group.
Well, Charlotte is gone, and we go to the turret. This is where things get interesting going into the final week, because Andrew and Harry decide, let's recruit someone. Let's get, an extra person to throw under the bus so that the 2 of us can make it to the finals together.
We should all aspire to have the confidence of a straight white man.
And they're going through the options, and they decide that they want to recruit Ross.
We should all aspire to have the confidence of a straight white man.
And then when Claudia comes in to get the note, she's like, well, have you decided to seduce or murder? And they're like, oh, we're recruiting. We're recruiting Ross. And she goes, another man.
Another man. And I was like,
Queen of the clock.
Queen, yes, queen. Period.
She's like, okay. Like, I know you have to be thinking about the game, and the game, of course, the
game of it all, but another man.
In that moment, she goes, God, I should have chosen 2 women at the start.
Absolutely. She was like, I should have chosen.
Like, to be fair, though, Miss Winkleman, you did this.
Yeah, you chose these straight white men to put up in front of everybody, and then Ash, and was like, sure, one woman will survive these 2 men alpha thinking that they are smarter than the world and smarter than everybody in the castle. So absolutely, Claudia, you did this. If you thought they was going to recruit another woman out of the group of women that we have, absolutely not. Because the women that were strong and were saying something, they were killing. And the women who were not, who would be horrible traitors, were the women that were the other ones left. So it's kind of like, yeah, no. But I'm glad she clocked it, though, because another man. You took Miles, you recruited Miles, a man. Then you recruited Andrew, another man. And then you recruited Ross, another man. Like, everybody who you had a hand in recruiting, you recruited men. I gave you Ash, and you 2 men got rid of her in order to get more men.
66% of this season's traitors have been white men. And 83% of the traitors on this season have been men.
This is the largest gender imbalance on any version of the show internationally. The one question I do have, though, why were they allowed to recruit? Normally,
I was curious about that too.
Normally, if a traitor goes out, you're allowed to recruit that night. And only that night. So why were they given the option again? Because Charlotte went out. Like, it doesn't make any sense, especially when you consider the balance of, okay, a faithful gets banished, and then at that point, if the faithfuls don't murder, at that point it's over for the faithfuls. Like, at that point it's even after the next murder. So why were they allowed to recruit again, especially at final 8? It feels like it was imbalanced, unless they knew that by recruiting Ross, the Traitors were bound to implode because they've kind of been imploding this whole time. Like, this has been probably the least united front of Traitors in a while. Like, every single episode, at least one other Traitor is going after another Traitor.
We don't have our Traitors Encyclopedia David here to confirm whether this had happened prior, because I don't.
I don't think it has, but like, still, every single episode, at least one Traitor has set seeds of doubt against another Traitor. So it just, this endgame is going to be weird.
Yeah, because they do recruit Ross, and Ross is like, I really don't want to do this, but Mom would want me to do it. Because if Diane was recruited, Diane would have done it.
Oh, absolutely.
And so I'm like, all right, Ross, live vicariously through your poisoned mother. Get up in that turret. And he finds out that it's Andrew and Harry, and immediately is getting all the tea. Okay, you were recruited, Andrew. Great. Harry, you're an original. Cool.
Why my mom?
Why was Diane?
He can't say.
Not.
He's like, why Diane? And this is where I think Harry messed up the most.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This is where he effed up.
This is where he fucked up. I'll say it for Lana because she doesn't want to on the internet. He goes, well, she was very smart and she was getting a little bit too confident for herself.
So we had to put her in her place. And I said, excuse me?
Now, who the fuck is this Harry?
I stopped the video and was like, what did he just say? He had to, what now?
We should all aspire to have the confidence of a straight white man.
Yeah.
I said, you not only sat here and disrespected this woman who's an older woman who you should respect, period, because she is your elder, number one. Number two, she is a woman who was doing really well in this game. I might not have particularly cared for her, but she was doing really well and had some really decent reads on the game. And you disrespect her and all women in general by saying you have to put her in her place. What place is that, sir? What place did you have to put her in? With your 22-year-old snot-nosed sniveling self. How dare you? I hope your mama slap you when you get home for saying something like that. You had to put a woman in her place. You are 22 years old. You still got breast milk on your breast. What are you talking about? How dare you? Oh my God. Oh, I nearly lost my mind when he said that. I was like, this man is too confident and too cocky. And he told the line, but at first he was just confident and a little arrogant. Now he just completely crossed over to the cocky, arrogant side. That is disgusting. Disgusting. Ugh. Put a woman in her place, baby. You know I was mad. Y'all know I was pissed hearing that.
I was surprised Ross didn't tackle him on the spot.
I would have punched him in his throat. Like, talk about my mama like that. Boy, mama. Ooh.
But that is all the ammunition that Ross needs to go after Harry.
And I hope he get him. I said, I never in a million years would have thought I would have been cheering for Ross and Andrew at the end of this game. There is no universe at the beginning of this season where I said Ross and Andrew would be people who I was rooting for. And now, on the Traitor side, that is the only people I'm rooting for. And if you just say Ross, he might be the only one I'm really, truly. Andrew can get it because he did fine. He ain't had nothing to do with Diane, and he ain't say nothing stupid like that.
And Andrew's been lovely for the most part.
Andrew's been lovely. He's fine. If he win it, great. But if Ross take out all his aggression on both Andrew and Harry, I ain't gonna be mad at that either. Ross need to get him, and I will live. If the faithfuls win, it's certain faithfuls who I want to see win. But if the traitors win, Ross is my number one pick. I want to see win. And that's insane. I never thought I'd say that.
He has had a very interesting, if he does end up winning, he's had a very interesting winner's arc from being a little bit invisible at the start of the series to then being recruited very, very late to then winning. It would be a unique story for a traitor win. I don't know that we're going to get a traitor win, though, if I'm being honest with you, because I really honestly think there is enough heat on all three of these guys at this point. And I'm hopeful. I also want to talk, how the fuck is Jazz still here? That is a question. I'm like, how has Jazz made it through all? Because I thought Jazz was a goner, like, a second episode.
Yeah.
But he has been clocked. I'm so thrilled. But he has been clocking this tea from episode 1.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
his reads are so great and so good, but he don't have the capital or the social capital to back it up. Like, nobody listens to Jazz. And everybody is like, but he has clocked every single traitor.
I think there's one person that could maybe sway the rest of the faithful to be like, but wait, hold on. Jazz has been right the whole time. And that's Jasmine. Because Jasmine's been right in there with him. Maybe not always directly aligned with him. Maybe not always listening to him herself. But Jasmine, I think, is the one person of the remaining faithfuls that could be like, but wait, Jazz has been right the whole time. And Jazz brought up in this episode to Zach and Evie a theory about Harry, which is 100% correct.
But they were like,
I need him to take that theory to Jasmine. And I think Jasmine has enough social capital to convince Molly, Evie, and Zach. And potential, and I think Ross could also build on that. I just need those forces to come together, and they could take out Harry.
I would love that, but the way this roundtable ended up with Jasmine, I don't see Jasmine. I think Jasmine lost a lot of her social capital that she had with people, and like her and Zach falling out, and Zach still, even after the roundtable, was kind of like, I don't believe you. You just didn't. So I feel like she would have to do a lot of work. But the only way that could happen is if Ross coming from the turret is loud, like putting that in Jasmine's ear, and she's kind of like, yeah. And then Molly getting the information and knowing that Harry lied about the shield and letting information come, like, how was he so sure about Paul? How was he so sure about all this stuff with Paul and was able to vote Paul out? And then having Jazz, like, this is some information that Harry told Paul that I told him. Why would he tell Paul that if he knew? He had to have that conversation. Like he said, he had to have that conversation in the turret because that happened right after the round table. And when Paul came to me and told me that, so they had to have a conversation.
There was no time.
There was no time in between for him to have a conversation and then, tell him that. So he kind of like you said, those forces need to come together, but I don't see how.
I think it has to come together at a round table. Honestly, I think all of the pieces need to be put together there, where Jasmine is like, but what about this thing? And Jazz is like, but also the whole Harry and Paul situation. And Molly's like, well, also there's this shield. And like, I think if they can put all those pieces together, they can get him out. Will those pieces come together? I don't know.
They have to shut Zach up because Zach is so loud and wrong in every room. And he's so loud and wrong. And if they can like shut him up enough to let them put the pieces together, sure. But Zach is always so loud and abrasive in every room, and then he's wrong about stuff. Like, he literally was like, I 100% believe Harry is not a traitor. He's a faithful 100%. And I'm like, you are so loud and wrong. You were only right about Paul. And then all of a sudden you want to switch it up. And it took everybody else being like, no, Paul, this is what it is. Because you were ready to switch it up to Jazz when it was Paul. So I'm kind of like, I don't trust Zach to know anything. He's like, he's so loud and wrong about all of the things. But I feel like I do agree with you. If the pieces come together at the round table, if they all let themselves come and start talking. Now, I don't know if Molly is going to say that about the Shield, though. I don't know. I think she's so close to Harry that she kind of feels, like you said, so close that she won't say anything. But I feel like if the pieces start coming out and everybody starts revealing what, maybe she'll say something. But I'm not sure.
We shall see.
We shall see.
We shall see.
And that's that on week 3 of Traitors UK. Let us know in the comments below, who are you rooting for going into the end game?
Why is it Ross?
And why is it Ross? And Jasmine.
And Jasmine and Andrew. And
Andrew.
And Molly.
Jazz to a certain degree.
Jazz.
Won, that would be the
God.
That would be.
I would love if Jazz won, but they talk about killing Jazz, so I'm like, oh.
Yeah, Jazz has been like a weird figure where it's been like, you have great reads, you have horrible votes.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have a social game to save your life, but that strategic game on point.
On point.
So,
and Evie's there.
She's lovely.
Sure.
Make sure to subscribe so you are the first to find out when we release our review of the finale of Traitors UK, which will be next week, same time, same place. Probably some of us, at least, maybe more. Mm-hmm. Who knows? Mm-hmm. In the meantime, make sure to subscribe, hit all the buttons. You can go throw a super thanks on any of our main channel videos, and we greatly, greatly appreciate that. Make sure to go subscribe to both of our other channels for Almost All Things Drag and Almost All Things Eurovision Song Contest. You can follow our socials down below at The Cut Pod on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. You could also go follow the 3 of us if you want to, because, hey, we're fun. We're lovely. Jack is allegedly on Twitch. Maybe.
Sometimes when I have free time, you know?
Allegedly.
Everything is alleged here.
It says so right there. It's popping up on screen right now. Mm-hmm. And you can go get your merch, including the Unlimited to the Cup mug, down there as well. And they're cute. They're stylish. They're lovely. Mm-hmm. So, with all of that being said, cheers. And I'm...
let me just...
I forgot.
Okay.
Lord,
where is my camera? Is it there?
Move over a little. A little. Other way. Yep. Move it up some. There we go.
Cheers.
There we go. Cheers.
We're such a mess.
We are, but it is what it is. And it's fine and whatever.
Yeah, it's fine. Everything's fine.
Claudia's fine.
Queen of the clock.
Claudia.
Per.
Words.